while lawyers and litigants can choose virtual hearings, reducing the need for frequent travel between and to courts. Even individuals in custody awaiting trial no longer have to be physically present in court, as they can attend the hearing via video conferencing. The journey towards digitization of India's judicial system started in 2005 with the setting up of the Supreme Court of India E-Committee. The phase 2 of the E-Courts project was focused on providing citizen-centric e-services. Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the E-Courts project dealt with the basic process to facilitate digitization of the judiciary, incorporating hardware installation, software upgradation, and initiate e-filing, tracking cases online, and uploading judgments online. Phase 3 of the E-Courts project has recently been rolled out with a very large outlay for implementation of specific tasks. The only problem is, which I have seen by my experience as Chief Justice of Uttarakhand, that the funds allocated under the third phase cannot be utilized unless the judiciary has achieved the goals set out in the first and the second phases. States which have lagged behind in implementing the first and second phases need special attention in this regard. So in Uttarakhand, the problem is of connectivity because of the remoteness. There is lack of connectivity, there is lack of awareness, there is lack of availability of funds for the purpose of even attaining the phases 1 and 2 of the computerization. Recently, to explore the use of artificial intelligence in judicial domain, the Supreme Court of India has constituted an artificial intelligence committee. The decision of the Supreme Court of India to live stream hearings was a landmark one. It has granted access to thousands of people to witness for themselves how the country's topmost judiciary functions. The public at large has been able to follow the arguments and deliberations in important constitutional matters of public interest, which has led to greater public knowledge and awareness of our constitutional scheme, values, and ethos. This year,
use of the expression gender empowerment in the topic of the session. Normally, the topic is women's empowerment. So I appreciate the sensitivity in use of the expression gender empowerment. As we are all aware,
both in supporting and complementing each other. As we integrate technology into the legal sphere, ensuring the quality of digital justice becomes paramount. A study exploring the influence of digitization and open justice principles within the English-Welsh justice system highlights the critical need for equal access to digital justice systems. With increasing digitization, especially of court records, privacy concerns are likely to be at the forefront of judicial and public deliberations in the coming years. It will also require external regulation by the legislature through statutes, rules, regulations, and by the judiciary through judicial review in the context of the constitutional standards. The goals must be to adopt a legal model which observes the principles of authenticity, integrity, confidentiality, and legal validity. The judgment of the Supreme Court in case Puttaswamy has laid down a threefold test to determine whether a legislation violates the right to privacy. Namely, the law must fail the test of legality. For a law to fall foul of the right of privacy, the law must firstly fail the test of legality, that it has not been enacted by a competent legislature. The law must fail the test of need, defined in terms of a legitimate state aim. What is the justification or rationale for such a law? The law must fail the test of proportionality, which ensures a rational nexus between the objects and means adopted to achieve them. Following Puttaswamy, by majority, the Supreme Court upheld the validity of the Aadhaar Act and UIDAI regulations while striking down certain provisions as unconstitutional. So we already have the principles laid down in Puttaswamy, followed in the Aadhaar case, to help us while examining any law which may be made for the purpose of implementing these technological transformations and innovations in the field of law. While acknowledging the existing challenges, it's crucial to recognize the immense potential that technology holds in fostering a more equitable, accessible, and efficient legal framework. The integration of technology not only enhances the delivery of justice, but also paves the way for a more inclusive society. With prudent regulation, thoughtful implementation, and a commitment to fundamental principles, the advancement in technology offers a promising path towards a more just and empowered future for all. Thank you. No, it's all perfect. Yes.
Thank you, sir, for your enriching views on this. Next, may I request Shri V. Srinivasanji to share his thoughts on this subject. Thank you, sir.
I have a PowerPoint presentation. You should share it. Okay. Honorable Justice Shri Vipin Sanghi, Additional Secretary Home Shri Shamal Mishra, Scientist G. Mighty, Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee, my colleague for many years, Shri Piyush Srivastav, and Secretary Railways Milind Yoskarji, my batchmate Mr. D.K. Singh, and my colleagues in DRPG, Puneet Yadavji, Jaya Dubeji, and of course Sushma Singh, our distinguished colleague from Jammu and Kashmir cadre. We've just heard a very erudite and eloquent talk from Justice Sanghi on improving justice delivery. Constitution Day 2023 is quite historic. In fact, hitherto, individual ministries were conducting events and we were submitting reports to the Ministry of Social Justice. As part of these events, the DRPG had the Constitution Day webinar. We participated in reading the preamble. And the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs also circulated an online reading of the preamble, and a Constitution Day quiz was also circulated in which thousands of officials participated. But this is the first time we have a Constitution Day colloquium that the Ministry of Law has convened. And I think it was quite unique that it brings together bureaucracy with the higher judiciary and gives us an opportunity to listen to the words of erudition and eloquence, that the wisdom that the great judges of India bring. In fact, as part of our Constitution Day events, we had a very prolonged webinar on fundamental duties in which I had said that constitutional romanticism is a reality. The Constitution of India evokes patriotism, commitment to nation building, and a deep sense of dedication to the national cause. Chanting the preamble to ourselves is the best way to give it a fresh lease of life. India's constitutional values are deeply rooted in high moral tones with a universal dimension. And these are some things that I had felt every time I read and reread the Constitution over several decades. We have a brief presentation from you as the Department of Governance for the Government of India, which is responsible for digital empowerment of citizens and also for the digital transformation of institutions, implementing the government's policy maxim of maximum governance, minimum government. Can we go to the next slide, please? On the legal aspects, the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances is the custodian of the Central Secretariat Manual of Office Procedure. The first time this manual was written was way back in 1899 when the Central Secretariat Manual was being formulated. And since then, there have been 16 editions. I was part of the integration of the Central Secretariat Manual of Office Procedure of 2010 with the Central Secretariat Manual of Electronic Office Procedure of 2012. It took us almost 8-9 years to put it together on how do we enable the march to a digital Central Secretariat. It resulted in a massive adoption of e-office across the central government and in state governments. In fact, the central government itself, the number of e-files went up from 400,000 to what we have today is 31 lakh e-files came into being. Also, the number of users went up to almost 70,000 users only in the Central Secretariat. The impact was even more profound in the states. For example, in Jammu and Kashmir, they had the Darbar system in which both the Jammu Secretariat and the Srinagar Secretariat operated only after the Darbar movement when 280 truckloads of files had to be moved. The e-office enabled simultaneous operationalization of both the Jammu and Srinagar Secretariats, saving almost 200 crores per every year per annum. In fact, the Central Secretariat Manual of Office Procedure laid down the formulations in which the e-office would be used, the virtual private networks would be used, the digital signature certificates would be used, and it also developed a series of analytics for improving efficiency in decision making. Next, please. So this is a slide that gives you how the e-office movement has taken up, and today we have about 31 lakh files are e-files. We also monitor the number of levels through which a file moves. The government's decision is a file should not move more than 4 levels. And ministries where delayering and delegation of financial powers have not taken place or where delayering is not very effective can be easily seen on an e-office system where the analytics present that more than 4 levels the files are being processed. Interministerial movement of files has become possible in which you need not send thick volumes of paper across ministries, and online file movements are taken up. Currently, about 1 lakh files move across ministries every month. So that is the quantum of interministerial movement of files. 100% movement of digital receipts. The fresh receipts that are coming in the Central Secretariat have moved completely into 100%. The operationalization of the e-office and the adoption of e-office across the Central Secretariat today stands at over 90%. So most ministries are operating in above 90% category, except a few like Ministry of Home Affairs, which carry DOPT, which carry a huge volume of confidential paper, which is not taken up on e-office systems. Next, please. The use of technology was very successfully done in operationalization of multiple digital portals. One of the very successful portals that I wish to present here is the Special Campaign portal. The Special Campaign is a campaign that is oriented towards institutionalizing Swachhata and minimizing pendency in government. And over 3 years, the Special Campaign has successfully weeded out 96 lakh physical files. The quantum of record management that we are carrying has been, in terms of physical files, has come down to less than 7 lakh physical files. While we have increased the e-files, the number of physical files have come down significantly. Office sites that were taken up, 404,000 office sites were taken up under the cleanliness campaign, and more than 355 lakh square feet of space has been freed. The revenue earned from 3 campaigns has been 1,162 crores. So we've disposed in the current year alone more than 4,700 condemned vehicles, a lot of outdated electronic equipment like laptops, desktops, printers, photocopiers, huge volumes went out. So this was a significant campaign in which best practices could be uploaded on the portal. The nodal officers were uploaded on the portal. The trail could be available, who's working, who's not working. And Ministry of Railways, who's on the panel with me, was a very active participant in implementing this campaign. And this year, the campaign was taken up with a saturation approach. So every last mile office, in fact, every paramilitary force across the country participated in the implementation of the Special Campaign 3.0 this year. Next, please. The Department of Administrative Reforms also monitors e-services. So this is how the e-services map of India has moved in terms of the mandatory services. We published the National E-Services Delivery Assessment, and as you can see, in 2019, the nation was having about 872 mandatory services that were operational. That was about 48% saturation was reached. By 2021, when we came up with NASDA, 56 e-services are to be provided mandatorily by all states. So 1,400 mandatory e-services were being provided across the center and states. So 69% saturation was achieved under NASDA 2021. But as we see the NASDA way forward in October 2023, we find that we have moved to about 75% of the saturation and 1,519 mandatory e-services are being provided. The significant jump, as you can see, look at Jammu and Kashmir. It didn't have any e-service online in 2019, and by the time we come to 2023, 54 services are being provided. Next slide. This is even more interesting. This is the total number of services other than the mandatory services. That is, mandatory services include social welfare, home affairs, revenue, police. These are mandatory ones that are provided, billing that is given. But these are general e-services that are rolled out. And on average, a state rolls out about 1,000 odd e-services. And the quantum jump you can see across, look at Maharashtra. Maharashtra in the April month of 2023 was providing about 150 e-services. Today they're providing 533. The transformation in terms of Jammu and Kashmir is from 474 to 1,075. The largest number of e-services being provided in Jammu and Kashmir. You can see the transformation in northeastern states also. And of course, the technologically advanced states of Telangana, Andhra, then you have Kerala, which always provided, Tamil Nadu, which provided strong digital portals, as also strong e-services deliveries. In fact, several states have come up with single sign-on facilities, Seva Sindhu being one of the most successful single sign-on facilities that the government of Karnataka has created. Next, please. The second aspect of today's discussion is innovations, and the department also conducts the Prime Minister's Awards for Excellence in Public Administration, in which it recognizes meritocracy for innovations undertaken at central government levels, state governments, and also in districts. On an average, 2,500 nominations are received every year, and I'll share with you the best practices that have been done. This is a photograph of the awardees of Civil Services Day 2023. In this very building, the Honorable Prime Minister had conferred the Civil Services Day Prime Minister's Awards for Excellence in Public Administration. Next, please. So many of these innovations that we find in the last 3 years have been based upon digital innovations. We have the PM Gati Shakti Master Plan, the National COVID-19 Vaccination Program, the generic document registration of land resources, the innovations for defense excellence, IDEX, then One Nation, One Ration Card, which is again a significantly large digital development, and the Uday Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, of course, was an infrastructure program building airports across India. But then you also had technology transformation that was seen in states. You can see the Gujarat model that was awarded, technology-driven transformation in school education system. Then the innovations carried out in the Bihar School Examination Board, and even the successful conduct of Kumbh Mela largely was based upon the digital portals they could build. Next, please. These are some of the innovations that happened that were successfully awarded across districts. And the Navpravartan startup zone of Chanpatia, West Champaran, stands out because it brought together startups who were largely migrant labor under the COVID program, along with banks, to set up one of the biggest startup zones in West Champaran district. Next, please. The second big digital platform that I wish to speak on is the CP Grams. All of you, or most of you, would have handled public grievances on the CPGram portal. The CPGrams today represents the largest portal for citizen grievances. It is a back end for on the right to Prime Minister portal, wherein which lakhs of grievances are filed. It's a 24/7 online grievance lodging portal. It also is integrated with all state grievance portals and with all the union territory portals. Next, please. A 10-step reform of CPGrams was undertaken following a review by the Honorable Prime Minister and a number of discussions with the Parliamentary Standing Committee, and all the ministries and states were involved with this initiative. The biggest change was One Nation, One Portal. So all states were integrated and reverse integrated with the portal. Then universalization of CPGram 7.0 meant that the last mile officers were mapped on the system. So today the CPGrams has more than 100,000 officers mapped on the system. Enhancing the capacity of the system through next generation technology, Sevottam was used as a program for capacity building more than 100,000 officers across states and central government. Regional language interface, CPGrams, is available in all languages, and a grievance redressal index which ranks ministry's performance as also states' performance was taken. To enhance the citizen connect using digital technology, a feedback call center has been operationalized where the call center makes calls to every citizen who has filed a grievance. And a data strategy unit to analyze big data, something like 20 lakh grievances. Today's government governance, as you can see, is data-driven governance. In God we trust, but everybody brings data to the table. So monitoring reports, publications are very important so that data dissemination and knowledge sharing is available. Next, please. So this is the CPGram 7.0, otherwise it had to move through, a grievance would move through multiple levels. Today it reaches a last mile. This happened because the number of categories were enhanced, as also the number of grievance officers were enhanced. So we have about 12,000 categories that are available on the CPGram model, and more than 100,000 officers that are mapped. So if you want to file a grievance with post office in Guntur or post office in Tiruvannamalai, you can immediately sit down in Delhi also and file it saying that I sent a speed post and it has not reached. And you'll get a grievance redressal within about 2 weeks' time. Next, please. The use of next generation technology, the DRPG collaborated with IIT Kanpur to develop an AI/ML based model, which was also featured in a number of magazines as one of the innovations of the year in terms of governance. So it enabled identification of habitual complainants, also urgent grievances, senior citizens grievances, pension grievances, family pension grievances, and an intelligent grievance monitoring dashboard has been provided, and the login IDs and passwords have been given to all ministries, all secretaries. In fact, Law Secretary was the first one who said, I want to understand how this can be adopted into the LIMS system. Next, please. This is the integration with Bhashini, and Bhashini is a fantastic software that has been developed by CDAC, and you can translate, a citizen files grievances across the country in multiple languages. In back end, it is translated into Hindi and English, and the reply is sent to him in the language in which he has filed the grievance. So the CPGrams currently receives grievances in all Indian languages, and replies are sent in all Indian languages. Next, please. To enhance the outreach and also to bridge the gap between the internet rich and the internet poor, the common service centers have been roped in. The common service centers celebrate 21st of every month as CPGrams Day, in which they motivate citizens to file grievances through the common service center portals. Next, please. The data strategy unit is a team of data analysts that enables us to map every grievance officer, the work done by every grievance officer, and how the grievances flow across the system. And we are in a position to identify if today a grievance is filed, the citizen is kept informed of every stage at which the grievance has moved. Next, please. This is one of the Sevottam national workshops with all Director Generals of ATIs, and there is a portal on which the administrative training institutes across the nation submit the number of grievance officers who have been given 1-day training programs, 3-day training programs, and some of them need even 5-day training programs because technology adoption is a constant process. Next, please. A CPGRAM's app is going to be unveiled next month, and this would make it even quicker. Right now, the portal is available on the Umang app, but we're coming up with a new app for CPGRAMs itself. Next, please. So this is the impact. As you can see, we have brought down the average closing time of a grievance to 19 days. So there are many grievances which are closed even quicker. That's what I said when I mentioned that if a citizen files a grievance in 2 weeks, he will get a reply. We've also managed to plateau the curve in terms of grievance registration. Otherwise, grievances were exploding. The national portals were receiving more than 22 lakh grievances. In COVID year, we got more than 30 lakh grievances when we add the states also. Today, we've managed to plateau the grievances. The number of grievance officers have gone up on the portal, but they have been mapped and monitored too. And citizen satisfaction levels have increased significantly. Today, we can say about 50% of the citizens who are filing grievances are expressing positive satisfaction with the grievance redressal. So technology brings tremendous force multiplier effects, and I'm sure this colloquium will go a long way in enabling each one of us to adopt technology in ensuring the digital empowerment of citizens and the digital transformation of institutions. Thank you. Thank you.
When it comes to like how technology and innovative ideas, technological transformation could be utilized for making governance a lot more efficient and effective, I think Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances have always been the leader and have been a true, real inspiration. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing the initiatives of your department. Thank you so much for enriching us. Next, if I may request, Shri Milind Deoskar, sir, to share his thoughts. Thank you.
My presentation can be. Honorable Justice Shri Vipin Sanghi, Secretary DARPG, Mr. V. Srinivas, other eminent panelists, and ladies and gentlemen. I am very happy that today we are sharing our thoughts on Constitution Day. On behalf of Indian Railways, I will like to present in brief just a snapshot of what is the extent of Indian Railways. We have got total track route kilometers of 68,000, and if in terms of track kilometers, our network is 128,000 track kilometer. It reaches nooks and corners of our great country, and we are on mission to cover the whole of our country. We are also on mission to electrify our railways just to make it environment friendly. Almost 86% of our broad gauge route is already electrified, and in a couple of years we will be achieving our target of 100% electrification. And we are in line with the government perspective that Indian Railways will be the most economical and most environment friendly and mass means of transportation of passengers and goods. Just to give a feel, our major assets are around 7,300 stations, approximately 15,000 locomotives, 3.5 lakhs of wagons, 82,000 passenger coaches, and this number is growing. The expectation of our customers are still yet to be met. We are running around 22,000 trains per day, around 12,000 passenger trains, and still we find that the trains are not sufficient. We carry about 2 crore passengers per day and 4.2 million tons of freight per day. Few years back, we were annually transporting around 900 million tons in a year. Last year, we transported around 1,500 million tons, and we are already working to achieve 3,000 million tons of freight per year. Next slide. Just to give a feel of the transport sector scenario, we already know that efficient transport services are very, very critical, especially for a country as big as India. It gives support to all the primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors. Normally, the logistic costs are supposed to be in the region of 7 to 8% of GDP, while in India it is around 14%. And railways are, actually the share of the railways in the mix has gone down over a period of time. So 64% of the freight is still moved in India on roads. We feel that it is desirable to have higher share of railways in this mix. And I have personally found that for any leads more than 500 to 600 kilometers upwards, railways are hands down very economical. There is a lack of integration on various modes of transport in our country. And Honorable Prime Minister of India has launched Gati Shakti. It's a concept, and that concept has transformed in a digital platform where all the 16 ministries are there. Planning is made in a very integrated manner and coordinated implementation of the infrastructure to reap large dividends from the infrastructure so created. Every ministry is working, and Indian Railway is also part of it, on a national master plan. We have mapped all these existing and proposed economic zones where all the multimodal connectivity infrastructure, all the individual projects of the ministries are being sanctioned within the parameters of the overall plan. And I'm sure that a couple of years down the line, the infrastructure scenario is going to be changed dramatically. Next slide. In the last few years, if you see that the capital expenditure outlay on Indian Railways, now, earlier it was very, very minimal, and nowadays we are getting budgetary support from the general budget. And this year, in year 23-24, we have got 240,000 crore of budgetary support, which was earlier not available. And we were executing projects out of our savings only. So that's why the funds were very less, and the project execution used to take a lot of time, years together for a small lines. Next. You can see that the track construction has picked up pace. Earlier, we were constructing around 1,500 kilometers of track per year, and in last 8 to 9 years, we have constructed around 2,900 kilometers per year. And the pace of construction with the 22-23, it has become 14.36 kilometers per day. It is much more than what we were doing earlier. And now India is constructing more railway lines every year than the entire Austrian rail network. Around 4,000 kilometers per day per year we are constructing. And this is all, I will say that it is possible through a lot of legal support which railways have got in the project execution, which I will tell you. Next slide, please. Whenever railway executes a project, they are of national importance, and we execute project under our Railway Act. but still there were a lot of issues were there, and we received some useful clarifications from Ministry of Environment and Forest. I will just list out few. Earlier, there was a lot of confusion, despite there was a non-obstante clause in Section 11 of the Railway Act. Still, a lot of clearances were required even for working in the railway land. If the land now, as the issue stands clarified, if the land is in the railway land, which is under non-forest use, before 25th of October 1980, when this Forest Conservation Act came into force, then this provision of forest clearance will not apply. So I will say that this has helped, this small clarification has helped railways a lot. This construction of railway tunnels in the forest area is exempted from raising of compensatory forestation. It has been considered very wisely that the tunnels are not disrupting the environment, and tunnels have been considered as environment friendly. The clarification to the states explaining the term right of way as the area falling within the limits of railway owned land, it has helped because land was a state subject, and there were a lot of issues with various states on interpretation of right of way, and with this clarification, any work in the railway land has been facilitated. Ministry of Environment further clarified that these railway projects covered under Railway Act will not attract coastal regulatory zone clearance. Further, this non-requirement of environment clearance for the commercial development of railway stations subject to preparation of comprehensive environment management plan has really helped. We have launched an aggressive scheme of upgrading our 1308 stations all over the country, and they are being made world class. And that is possible because of such crucial clearances and crucial clarifications. Railway projects are exempt from prior environment clearance in terms of Section 11 of the Railway Act. And I will just give you an understanding that between Pune to Mumbai, 200 kilometers of railway train which carries around maybe 2,000 to 3,000 passengers per train. We are consuming electricity of around 7,000 to 8,000 rupees only. That too, when I am not taking the open access charges, where the cost of electricity has gone down substantially. So railway is very, very economic mode of transport, and any help to a commercially justified railway project will definitely help the nation. Next. Last few years, Make in India policies were initiated. The Public Procurement Order 2017 followed by DPIIT order in 2020 that has promoted local manufacturing and services in India. The Department of Expenditure guidelines and amendment to GFR that no global tender inquiry shall be invited for tenders up to 200 crore. These are path-breaking policies, and there is one more policy that registration of the bidders with the beneficial ownership in the land border countries. All these policies, railways have assimilated and adopted wholly with whole heart, and you can see the impact. I will please next slide. These are very few Make in India initiatives, but considering the extent of operations of the railways, the impact is huge. Capacity building in the private sector for the indigenous manufacture of Vande Bharat rakes. As a matter of fact, our integral coach factory, Chennai, almost 80% of local content is there while we are manufacturing Vande Bharat. 9,000 HP electric locomotives have been promoted with more than 50% local content. Within few years, we will find such locomotives coming out of Dahod factory. import component of these electric locomotives which are being produced in Chittaranjan Locomotive Works and Banaras Locomotive Works, is only 2% is import component. LHB coach, which are the red coaches which you have seen, except for the wheels, it's completely indigenized, and even for the wheels also, railways have entered into an arrangement where the all the capacity of the Indian Railways will be met by indigenized forged wheels, which will be maybe in next couple of years we will have even the wheels also indigenized. The cast wheel and axle manufacturing in railway factories in Bangalore and Patna, they are all indigenized except few consumable items. All the track machines through which our rail infrastructure is being maintained, it is also indigenized except for few sophisticated machines. Even our advanced signaling equipments like our axle counters and our interlocking equipments, they are also, the mandatory local manufacturing policy has really helped, and the local content has gone up. The Kavach, the anti-collision device, has been developed indigenously by Indian Railways in collaboration with CDOT. All these initiatives, as a matter of fact, I have seen that after the Make in India policies, the bearings which were imported, which suddenly they started, we started having them manufactured in India. A lot of entrepreneurs of India have come forward and developed local facilities. They have entered into TOT arrangements, and soon they have, it's a real indigenization. Next slide, please. Indian Railway is very good with all the contractors, and as a matter of fact, a healthy relationship with our suppliers, partners has helped us in executing large infrastructure projects, maintain operations over nook and corner of the country. Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, which was rolled out by government, we have fully implemented. We have given relief to all the MSME firms when during the COVID affected period they were defaulting, their EMDs were forfeited, security deposits were forfeited, their risk purchase were there. But as soon as government rolled out this Vivad Se Vishwas 1 policy, we have given relief to all our MSME vendors for towards 95% of the loss which they suffered. Same way, Vivad Se Vishwas 2 scheme, where the settlement of the contractual disputes, the graded settlement terms depending upon the level of the dispute. Suppose the claim of the entity is less than 500 crore and up to 500 crore, it is mandatory for us to accept the claim, and if the firms agree, then 65% against an arbitral award and 85% against a court award. If the claimant agrees, then we don't go into further disputes or appeals. This is really going to be a game changer. Next. Some discussion on the existing legal framework, which is somewhat we feel that if something better can be done in this regard. There is one Taj trapezium. This MOEF declared Agra-Mathura region as a air pollution protected area, and in this Taj trapezium zone of around 10,400 kilometers where has been constituted. In this zone, even if even one tree is to be felled, then it requires permission from Supreme Court. There is it's a hell of a provision, and initially the case has to be listed, then listed from the first initial hearing, then the case will be transferred to CEC, empowered committee, then empowered committee will give suggestion, and in the final hearing, then we get clearance. subject to compensatory afforestation and other stipulations. So some relief will expedite, especially in the NCR region and all. It is obstructing railways. The CRZ regulation, conservation of mangroves. This is also, though MOEF has clarified that CRZ clearances are not required, but because of the court orders that within 50 meters of all the mangroves, especially in Maharashtra and Gujarat, you cannot execute any project, and sometimes the alignments just cannot be changed. Railways have to approach to the courts, seek clearances. Of course, the exercise is there of compensatory afforestation, but it is taking a lot of time. Then third and most important is this conservation of monuments. This Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Site Act 1958. There are around 3,700 monuments in India, and within 100 meters of the monument, the construction is prohibited, and up to 200 meters it is regulated. It is, you can say, restricted. So there are railway infrastructure much. This act has come in 1958. Our railway lines have been pre-existing. There has been monument there, but to add one more line, it is not possible for us to add one more line. And as a matter of fact, all the monuments may not be of equal importance like Taj Mahal. So this is an area which these three are the discussions where if we can have some discussion and some way out. Yeah. Next, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing with us the transformative initiatives, some of the transformative initiatives being undertaken by the Indian Railways. Thank you so much. Next, if may I please request Shri Piyush Srivastav, sir, to share his thoughts. Sir.
Thank you. Session Chair, Honorable Justice Mr. Vipin Sanghi ji, my esteemed senior and guide, Secretary DRPG, Shri V. Srinivas Sahab, Shri Milind Deoskar Sahab, Shamal Mishra Sahab, and Mr. Sandeep Chatterjee. As we proudly assemble today to celebrate the Constitution Day, I must admit that I am deeply humbled to be in the presence of this august gathering. As I reflect on the profound interaction of law, innovation, and technological transformation in the realm of civil aviation, I think I'll let this slide hang for a couple of minutes while I'll discuss other things, starting from what the Honorable Justice had just mentioned. The Constitution of India is the bedrock and the guiding light of our democracy. And as Justice Saab very eloquently pointed out, it enshrines justice, equality, and liberty. But it also paves way for progress and development. If we look at the Ministry of Civil Aviation and the civil aviation sector as such, the sector has made remarkable growth, and the developments can be seen all around. We have become the third largest domestic civil aviation market in the world. We have 149 airports on the ground that are operational, and we will be reaching 220 odd airports in the next 2 years. The country, the domestic airlines have put in an order of 1,500 aircraft, which will flow in at the rate of almost 1 aircraft to 2 aircraft per week, which is a phenomenal growth that we are going to look forward, because presently the fleet strength of the country is just 713 odd aircraft. So you can imagine the pace at which the sector is growing. Civil aviation has been a major contributor in trade and tourism. And it has a huge potential if you look at the large young population, which is getting increasingly affluent, is highly mobile and highly aspirational. So the potential of civil aviation is just going to go up. but at its heart is a critical balance between the robust legal framework and the pursuit of innovation. Ministry of Civil Aviation, as you know, is basically a facilitator. All the activities are carried out increasingly in the private sector. All the airlines are in the private sector. The airports are increasingly in the private sector. The major airports are at least in the private sector. Or let me say they are in the PPP mode, not exactly private, but they are not run by the government. But as a facilitator, Ministry of Civil Aviation implements 10 acts. The major acts being the Aircraft Act, the Airport Authority of India Act, the Anti-Hijacking Act, and the Carriage by Air Act. And we are compliant with all our international obligations and treaties. We have two regulators, Director General of Civil Aviation and Director General of Bureau of Airports Aviation Security, which basically look after the safety and the security aspects, and for which they have been suitably enabled through rules and regulations. We have a third regulator, the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority, which regulates the tariffs of airports. Now, by its very nature, the civil aviation is technology intensive. Innovations and technological transformations in civil aviation are not just in the air, not just in the sky, they also extend to the ground infrastructure too. We are all familiar with the innovations that have been made in Gagan, the Digi Yatra, they are both been developed in the country, the ILS and the automated baggage system. The objective of the sector and increasing priority of the ministry is that operations should be streamlined, security should be enhanced, and passenger experience should be seamless. All the players in the civil aviation realm are actually increasingly using AI, blockchain, and data analytics, while at the same time ensuring that safety, security, and privacy are taken care of. But the most transformative and the revolutionary thing that we are going to see in technology in the aviation field is what we see on the screen right now, which is the drone. Can we have the next slide, please? Next. Next. The flying machine that we are seeing here, the components have been listed out, but it is called by various names, the RPAS, the UAV, UAS, UA, depending on which time frame we are looking at and which geographical jurisdiction we are looking at. But the most accepted name for this is now drones, which was given by the French regulator. And basically it means an aircraft capable of operating autonomously or remotely without a pilot on board. Next. Its uses are phenomenal in the commercial use. If we look at, in fact, the memory of the drone flying on Mars is very fresh in all our minds. But if we look at the future, the drone taxis are almost a reality. They have done a test run in Dubai. They were about to be used in the Paris Olympics, but now I think they have shared the idea. The technology needs to be stabilized, but in the years to come, the way the passengers and cargo moves is going to be very different. As we see in the fourth quadrant here, it is basically an eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing system, which is actually the elder brother of a drone in many ways, but it will also carry passengers. Next, please. These are the defense use cases. They are being used as loitering munition, micro-surveillance drones, and then, of course, the hail and the mail thing, that which is high altitude, long endurance, and medium altitude, long endurance drones. Next, please. India is using drones for the highest number of applications across the world, which is quite creditable, since in all other technologies we are playing a game of catching up. Here we seem to be at the crest and ahead of the curve. And drones have hundreds plus applications in civil and defense sectors. Whether you look at environment, or you look at entertainment, you look at healthcare, or forestry, drones have an application everywhere. Next, please. Next. On this chart, we can see the timeline in which the drone regulations have evolved. As we can see in the first phase between October 2014 to December 2018, there was a lot of apprehension because we did not know the potential of the drones. It was looked as a suspicious thing, and it did not inspire confidence in the lawmakers, it appears. So the regulations were essentially prohibitive at that time. And then change happened in December 2018, and from 2018 December to August 21, it was a more permissive regime where the regulations were eased out and the use of drone proliferated. But the big change happened with the commencement of the promulgation of the drone rules in 21. After that, it has been completely liberalized, and now we are seeing the use of drones, which has brought us to the forefront of the global usage of drones. And I might mention here that the drone rules derive their strength from the Aircraft Act as of now. Please, next slide. In this slide, I have tried to summarize what the drone rules basically say. There are two actors that the drone rules try to control, or rather regulate: the drone itself and the drone pilot, and the considerations are safety and security. So the type certification is mandatory by 3 identified QCI approved certification bodies, so that the drone itself can be traced, and the security is ensured by the registration of the drone, so that there is a traceability. And the remote pilot training as well as the training schools are also as per the DGCA regulations, which ensure that the drone pilot gets the requisite training, and the drone schools are in a position to train the drone pilots to conform to the safety requirements. And the remote pilot certificate also embeds the identity of the drone pilot into the certificate, so the traceability is ensured. But despite all these precautions, it is likely that there will be some accident somewhere. So the third-party insurance has been made mandatory here. The critical feature that the drone rules have is that they do not allow permission to fly beyond green zones. Or let me put it this way, that for flying in green zones, you do not need any permission. And for flying in yellow and red zones, there are some permissions that need to be taken, but it is not entirely prohibited. Next, please. This is a summary, a depiction of how the drone rules have eased various operations. As you can see, the permission for green zones is not required. In case there is an R&D institution, an education institute, or a testing range, then no permission is required, provided the operations are carried out in the area that is in control of that particular institution. Otherwise, we insist on drone registration because we want to ensure the traceability thing, as I had submitted in the previous slide. Next, please. The Digital Sky platform is actually a single window service to the service providers as well as the consumers. And at the same time, it enables the regulators to have a bird's eye view of what's happening. At its peak, it will not just monitor the approvals, the trainings, but also real-time movement of the drones, so that we can ensure all the safety features, and then it will also have connect with the law enforcement agencies, so that if any drone turns rogue, then anticipatory action and preventive action can be taken against that drone and then traced back to the drone pilot. Next slide, please. These are the key pillars of Indian drone ecosystem, on which we've covered quite a lot of ground. As I was mentioning, the ease of doing business has been ensured through the drone rules of 2021, which have been brought out under the Aircraft Act. Financial incentives have been provided for the manufacturing of drones. We were not exactly on the forefront of manufacturing of drones. And when the scheme was launched, it was launched with a budget proposal of 2 times of the turnover of the drone industry at that time. And I am happy to report to this august audience that in the second year itself, we exceeded that, and now we are going to have 4 times of the budget allocation for this scheme, which I think is a huge achievement for this nascent industry. We have tried to build up the market also through domestic industry promotion as well as export liberalization, so that drone manufacturers are incentivized through the creation of the market. And the government has also turned out to be a huge market maker, because government is itself procuring a lot of drones for various activities. The last one was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister on the 15th of August, when he said that 15,000 drones will be procured for SHGs, and that too women-led SHGs. Next slide, please. I think we will skip this. Next slide. On this slide, I'm just trying to showcase that almost 90% of Indian airspace is green. You do not need any permission for flying over these areas. So this is our contribution to ease of doing business. I think I'll stop here. I must have reached the end of my time. But I'll conclude by saying that under the patronage and protection of the Constitution and the enabling provisions of law, the Indian civil aviation sector is poised for growth. And actually, for us, the sky is the limit. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing with us such enriching, insightful presentation. And I'm sure when we open the floor for question-answer rounds, we will definitely have a lot of questions, because this is an area which interests a lot of people. People are curious about it. So we will definitely expect a lot of questions coming from this. Next, if I may request Shri Shamal Mishra, sir, to share the initiatives that are being taken in the Ministry of Home Affairs. Thank you, sir.
Right, thank you very much. Respected Honorable Justice Vipin Sanghvi, Chairperson of this technical session, distinguished panelists, respected participants, and dear friends. It's my proud privilege, along with my colleagues here from MHA, to be a participant in this technical session 3 on the occasion of Samvidhan Divas. Sir, in keeping with the theme of this session, which is law, innovations, and technological transformation, so we'll be talking about some of the more important initiatives of the Ministry of Home Affairs in these 3 broad categories: legal initiatives, technological initiatives to transform the way policing works, as well as some innovations. Next, please. So this is in one slide shows the desired outcomes that we seek through our initiatives, having an efficient criminal justice delivery system, which we are trying to bring about through not only technical initiatives, as also transformation through laws. The most important tech initiative is the interoperable criminal justice system, about which I'll talk shortly. It brings about the 5 pillars of police, courts, prisons, forensics, and prosecution under in one platform, and so that they talk to each other and don't work independently. Through transformation through laws, we've brought about many amendments as well as new enactments. 2 or 3 that are mentioned over here refer to the Criminal Procedure Act, which was passed last year. It replaced the 100-year-old prisoner identification system of 1919. We've prepared a model prison act and shared it with all the states, because prison is a state subject, and these laws, as and when the states pass it in their domain, this will replace the 1894 Prison Act and the 1900 Prisoners Act, as well as the Criminal Laws Bill, which has been tabled in Parliament only in the last monsoon session and is likely to be taken up now. Along with the objective of having a efficient criminal justice delivery system, we focus on securing a higher conviction rate, and for that, the emphasis is on improving and enhancing the forensic capacity in the country. This is done through strengthening our existing forensic labs in the central government, the central forensic labs, as well as the state forensic labs. And we've provided funds for the modernization of these labs. Along with this, we have the National Forensic Science University, which has expanded its operations. It now has a footprint in 12 states. It has 2 campuses and 5 off-campuses and training institutes, and is now providing forensic education and training to more than 5,000 students, and thus will provide the high-quality forensic professionals that we require. And this with the aim of enabling the investigation and police to use forensics with technology and science to have a better investigation, which ultimately leads to a higher conviction rate. And the objective of creating a safe environment for all, where we, I'll briefly mention some focused initiatives that we have taken in partnership with the states, namely the ERSS, the Dial 112 system, some safe city pilots in 8 select metro cities, as well as anti-human trafficking units in all districts of the country, and women help desk in all police stations. Next. So this is a slide that brings about, that talks about ICJS, the Interoperable Criminal Justice System. There are 5 pillars to the ICJS: police, prisons, forensics, courts, and prosecution. And they all work to provide the criminal justice system to the citizens. All these pillars, they started off independently. For example, the police started in 2004-05 as a standalone system to computerize and bring to computerize the police stations. And later on, it started with some 2,000, 3,000 police stations. 2009, it was extended to all the police stations. And now it covers more than 16,800 police stations across the country. All but 10 or 15 of police stations are now covered. In the same way, the idea here is to have all these pillars not only strengthen each one of them, but that they talk and interact and share data and information seamlessly across all the 5 verticals, so that there is efficiency in operations. Data that is once entered is available to all. There is paperless sharing of data, and we are able to modernize these applications, use technology, use AI and blockchain to not only keep the data secure, but also be able to provide smart policing. Next. So this slide, we talk about the police application, the CCTNS application. The idea here is to enable the police to use technology so that their investigation is efficient, is faster, and they are able to identify crime and criminals in a more reasonable, faster, and secure manner, and provide on-field support to our investigating officers. The one in the center, we can see some of the key IT applications. CCTNS is the police pillar. There is an investigation tracking system for sexual offenders, which tracks whether states are able to complete the investigation in 2 months. And this is available for senior officers monitoring, also monitored in interstate zonal meetings, which are chaired by Honorable Home Minister. We are also developing a common post-mortem application called MetLeaper for all the states. NAFIS is an automated fingerprint system, which I'll talk about shortly. There's an ICJS search function, which provides the facility of search to all the users, which is on a secure platform, which is and enables them to search the massive database that is available. The immigration and visa database is also linked, and so is the arms licensing information system. Some of the services that are provided using this database includes the National Crime Record Check, which is available to central ministries and departments, so that when they are making employments, they can do a quick check before the police report is available to them. And provision of services to citizens. This is also an integral part of the ICJS setup. Next. As I mentioned, the ICJS database provides a parameterized search and query across all the pillars of the criminal justice system, and this enables them to quickly search through the crores of data that we have available. The investigation tracking system for sexual offenses, I mentioned, it monitors whether investigation is being completed in 2 months, and if not, what needs to be done to accelerate it. The criminal network analysis is also available to law enforcement agencies to look at who is involved in a particular crime, or which criminal is associated with other people to enable efficient investigation. The other central law enforcement agencies also have access to this database, such as CBI, NIA, NCB, and RPF. And this is also integrated with the IVFRT system for access to passport and movement details of criminals or persons of interest. Track Child Khoya Paya, which is an initiative of Women and Child Development, which allows the entry to be copied from the FIR and prevents a double entry, as well as the missing vehicle details from Bhawan and Sarthi. The provision of citizen-centric services, it's a very important part of ICJS. There are, at last count, more than 16.8 crore services that have been made, and more than 90% of those have been provided. So this enables transparency as well as efficiency in providing services. Next. So this is a national automated fingerprint identification system. This actually brings together all the fingerprints that are available with the police of all the states and UTs into one national platform, and it's a national searchable repository which the law enforcement agencies are able to match the fingerprint of any offender or any arrested person, or even chance prints. This has been launched since last August 2022. It has been deployed across the country, and this has helped in solving more than 4,000 very old, complex, tricky cases since its launch. This has been recently awarded the National Award for E-Governance by DARPG for government process re-engineering. And as we speak, this has got more than 90 lakh plus fingerprints data, and as more and more states and UTs are getting onto this system and they are adding on a daily basis, this becomes very useful. Just as an example, in August 23, a 5-year-old child who was molested and murdered, that case was reported in Kerala, was solved using NAFIS because the accused had a POXO case registered in Delhi. So using technology to nab offenders, this is a very good example and very successfully being done. Next. Prisons is the second pillar. This has also been, this is a part of the ICJS. As I mentioned, the Prisoner Identification Act was replaced by a new modern Criminal Procedure Act, which allows technology to be used for investigation and to enhance the conviction rate. The Model Prison Act I mentioned, this has been prepared and shared with the states. It has enabled the use of technology in prison administration. E-Prisons is the application which is now connecting more than 1,300 prisons across the country. That's all but very few prisons that are not connected. This is an online application for prison and prisoner data management. Also facilitates requests for visiting prisoners, e-Mulakat. There are more than 1.8 crore data in this, and the prisoners can be segregated. At any point, there are roughly 6 lakh prisoners in the system. They can be segregated on convicted, under trial, gender, region, conviction, the type of offense, educational qualification, etc., etc. Through a court directive now, an auto alert is sent to DALSA and SALSA when an under trial prisoner has completed half of his term under Section 436A but is now eligible for bail. So an auto alert goes to DALSA for taking up their case. This is the other case that I was mentioning. In case the prisoner has been granted bail, but he has not been released in 7 days, in that case, an auto alert email goes to DALSA and SALSA. There is also a provision which has been made under 436A for a prisoner who has completed half his term. The email also goes to DALSA for taking up their case under the Under Trial Review Committee. A scheme for support of poor prisoners has recently been launched. It was a Budget 23 announcement where the Government of India will provide funds for releasing those poor prisoners who have either completed their term but are not able to get out because there's a fine and they cannot pay that, or they have actually secured bail but because they can't meet the surety requirements, they are still in prison. So this is also one of the initiatives. Aadhaar-based authentication for verification of prisoners, and also we've launched a scheme for modernizing prisons, including focus on rehabilitation of the inmates and building exclusive high-security prisons for hardened criminals and high-risk offenders. Next. Similarly, e-forensics platform has been used to connect about 117 forensic labs across the country. These include the 7 CFSLs, central FSLs, 32 state FSLs, and the others are regional forensic labs. These will bring about faster and more accurate and reliable forensic reports without loss of time to police and other stakeholders. As a pilot, blockchain technology has been tried out and implemented in Delhi State Forensic Lab, and this will be replicated across the other places as well. We have provided funds for strengthening the DNA and cybercrime in the state forensic labs. We've also done the same for establishing state-of-the-art facilities in our central forensic labs for DNA as well as for cyber forensics. And going ahead, we plan to have a central repository of forensic indices where we can have automation and analysis and evidence management system in a modern way. For National Forensic Science University, I mentioned this was a central university since 2020, and this has now started with 2 main campuses in Gandhinagar and Delhi, now has 5 additional off-campuses across the country, and it trains more than 5,000 students, and this is only growing. And this will provide the professionals that we need for doing more forensic analysis. In fact, the criminal laws bill that has been put up in Parliament, it envisages mandatory forensic examination for all cases which have more than 7 years of prison. So this will meet the need that will arise to ensure that investigation is scientific and brings greater convictions. Next. We have a similar module for prosecution. More than 600 units have been set up across the country. It provides aid to the public prosecutors in digitally providing their inputs to the police for legal advice, for opinion, for FIR charge sheet. It also provides an adjournment alert to, in case a public prosecutor seeks 2 or more adjournments, so as to clamp down on delays that may be happening. Going forward, we'll be procuring an advanced legal research database as well as other functionalities in the system to make this even more efficient. Next, please. This is an emergency response support system, or Dial 112, the number which is now nationally available as a single pan-India emergency number. This is now operational in all the 36 states and UTs of the country. The caller, in case he is in a position of distress, can call the number 112 and obtain assistance through police ambulance or fire, where the caller will ascertain the emergency and dispatch the resources on the ground. We are trying to integrate this facility with the other helplines also, so that no case of emergency is left out. So far, we've managed to integrate with railways, with disaster management, as well as child and women helplines also. The next focus is on trying to bring down the response time. So far, the response time, the national average is slightly above 19 minutes. Of course, this is much lower in the urban areas, and it's higher in the rural areas. But the response time is coming down, and as this is monitored more and more facilities are added, we hope this will be of much greater assistance and be able to provide help in a much shorter time. Next. This is a Safe City initiative which was done in 8 selected cities of Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Lucknow and Mumbai. These are specific projects for specific cities to plug the gap in infrastructure, in strengthening the civic communities, in addressing the dark spots, so that safe environment is available to all, especially women and children and the vulnerable. The surveillance cameras have been put up by the thousands. There have been GIS-based crime mapping, there's use of drones, there's installation of CCTV, mobile command and control center, smart lighting. Involving the community, Bangalore has done the Rani Chennamma initiative for self-defense training. Infrastructure has been strengthened through pink toilets, setting up of counseling centers, as well as help desks for women and children, safety islands in Bangalore, and similar initiatives. Next. This is an effort to have a holistic structure for women and children to reach out to the police. There is a nodal setup at the state level, where there are dedicated teams for taking up cases of human trafficking, including across the state. At the district level, there are anti-human trafficking units. We've provided funds to set up these units, and so far 788 of them are functional, including at the border areas. And their job is to not only rescue, but also rehabilitate and provide assistance and skilling assistance to the victims. We also have women help desks. These are at police station level, and so far funds have been provided for more than 15,000 such women help desks. More than 13,500 have been made operational. These are headed by women police officers, and the idea is to make the police stations more approachable, more women-friendly, so that people can come and register their complaints and get assistance. There is another part of this presentation which will be made by my colleague. He'll talk about cyber security and our initiatives. Rajesh Kumar, my colleague.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Justice Vipin Sanghi, sir, Srinivas, sir, Milind Devaskar, sir, Shyamal, sir, and all senior dignitaries who are present here. I represent the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, which is part of the Ministry of Home Affairs. And in a way, IFOC itself is a legal innovation to bring about a kind of a technological transformation in the way we handle cybercrime in the country. Cybercrime Coordination Center has 4 verticals which looked after different parts, which address different aspects of cybercrime. As you can see on the screen, number 1 is the National Cybercrime Threat Analytics Unit, which creates intelligence alerts after analyzing the horizon at what are the new and evolving cybercrime threats and disseminates it to all the relevant stakeholders. The National Cybercrime Reporting Portal, www.cybercrime.gov.in. This platform enables direct reporting of crime, cybercrime, by the citizens from anytime, anywhere basis. The National Cybercrime Ecosystem Management Unit, which looks at all the stakeholders and how we need to, the law enforcement needs to take them on board, cooperate with them, so that a conducive environment for addressing cybercrime can be created in the country. The National Cybercrime Training Center, which provides training to law enforcement, prosecutors, and judiciary in issues related to cybercrime, both in the online and the offline mode. We have a MOOC, which goes by the name Cytrain, which offers 17 different tracks for all the elements of the criminal justice system at beginner, intermediate, and advanced level. Then we have the National Cyber Forensic Lab. It comes in two categories. One is the investigative, which is at Dwarka as of now. We host tools which are cloud-based, which anybody from any law enforcement from anywhere in the country can use. The other is the NCFL-E, the evidentiary, which is the first one is at Hyderabad with the CFSL. The sixth vertical of our organization is the National Cybercrime Research and Innovation Center. So this addresses the new and emerging challenges and how to harness the new and emerging technologies to address those challenges. And the last is the Joint Cybercrime Coordination Teams. In these teams, there are 7 regional teams across the country, and each state and union territory falls in one of these groups. So together we take up issues of investigation and common concern through these joint cybercrime coordination teams. Next. So this is the portal. So this is the portal which has, apart from facilitating complaints by the citizens, it also has a lot of information which is of use for the law enforcement. It includes suspect repository. So any malicious identifier related to any malicious actor is hosted here, which can be used by any law enforcement. We have Delhi Crime Digest on it. We have complaint tagging, the National NC-MEC tip line, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and most importantly, we have transaction trail, financial transactions that take place in the financial system to launder the cybercrime proceeds. There is a trail available there, sir. Okay. So this is next slide, please. So this is how the trend in cybercrime looks like. Between 21 to 22, we had 127% increase. This year, we'll bring it down to maybe 80 to 85% increase over the previous year. The amount of money lost has increased to 5,742 crores till October. We hope that we will be able to curtail to somewhere near 6,000 crores. Next. There are 3 main vectors which are used for committing cybercrime: the telecommunication vectors, the banking and finance, and the IT intermediaries. And it is the endeavor of the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center to address all these 3 through collaboration and use of technology. Next. So, no, previous one, please. Previous one, please. Previous. You are going in one direction. Previous, yeah. So telecommunication. So we have created a platform when any malicious SIM card or device which comes to an adverse notice which is used by a cyber criminal can be blocked in near real time. So far we have been able to block 282,000 SIM cards which are being used by cyber fraudsters and around 59,000 devices itself. So these SIM cards and these devices become unusable. This we are doing with the Department of Telecommunication. Next. Now we also do a real-time analysis of which are the states from which those SIM cards are operating, which are the states where the SIM cards are being issued, and which are the telecom service providers who are issuing those SIM cards which are being used by fraudsters, so that we can measure them and inform them to take corrective action. Next. This is another use of facial recognition technology to use who are the people to identify the people who are taking SIM cards based on forged documents. So this tool is called Astra. This has been developed by Department of Telecom, and they have been able to identify and disconnect 55 lakh SIM cards only on the basis of facial recognitions. Next. The second major channel, vector of cybercrime is the cyber and banking and financial channel. So what we do is we allow the citizens to report crime through the portal and through the National Cybercrime Helpline 1930. That data comes to our system, which we call the Citizen Financial Cybercrime Reporting and Management System. And on this, we have onboarded all the banking and financial intermediaries, payment aggregators, payment gateways, and we track the flow of money in real time. So if you put the money onto the complaint onto the portal, we will track the money and try to stop it as far as possible. This is a unique initiative which was commended by the FATF in its latest publication as well. Next, please. So these are the outcomes. So while we have been able to so far save 920 crore rupees through this system called CFCF RMS, which is unfortunately only 10% of the total money that we have lost. We have benefited 3.5 lakh victims of cybercrime through this system, and we have created an intelligence repository which we share with the Reserve Bank of India, all the banks, and any other stakeholder who would be interested. So these repository includes the mule accounts which are being used, the banks which are hosting those mule accounts, the ATMs, the micro ATMs, and the POS agents which are siphoning off the money, the social media identifiers related to the cyber criminals, and the communication infrastructure. We have recently achieved an API integration with the NPCI, and now the 91 CRPC notice is being issued electronically and instantaneously to fetch data from the NPCI. Next, please. So this is how the trail looks like. So we trace it, the money, how from the victim it has gone out of the financial system. And this is very useful when we take the matters with the Reserve Bank of India and the other banks. Next, please. So this is how it looks like. And then we do intervention backed by this hard data. So we have been, for example, been able to influence Yes Bank to bring the incidence of mule accounts in their system, and we need to do some more work, especially with HDFC, ICICI, and some other banks. Next, please. We also have a system whereby we can plot where the ATM, the money, from which ATM the money has gone out of a cybercrime. And on the right side, you can see that we have been able to identify those ATMs and the number of transactions going out of those ATMs. This is going to be made available to all the law enforcement agencies. They can see in near real time from their territory which ATM is being used to siphon off money. Next, please. We have been able to identify the bank branches which are hosting the maximum number of mule accounts. This we are informing to the banks as well. Next. And
my apologies, sir. We are running a little short on time. So
fair enough. So thank you so much. So we'll keep, because cybercrime will keep growing, so we have to keep on innovating to address them. Thank you.
thank you so much, sir. I'll request Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee from Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology to share a few words.
Honorable Chairman, Honorable Secretary D.A. Purji, and distinguished guests in the gathering. I am really privileged to represent our ministry along with my colleague from Cyber Law Division. I am representing our Secretary Krishnan sir. As we all know, the subject electronics and ICT, any sector you name, it is having a presence. So our ministry started from 1999 and has been transformed from different level to others. So I'll be just concentrating on the three topics. There are many other programs in our ministry: law, innovation, and technology. Next slide. To enabling actually e-transaction in e-commerce, we initiated the IT Act 2000, and it has came into force in 17th October 2000. Next slide. And amended in 2008 to provide actually e-transaction and e-commerce mainly, and to facilitate that document in the electronic filing in the government system. And if you see the IT Act various features, it is actually facilitating that e-commerce, e-governance, electronic record, e-signature, working of controlling of certifying agency, contravention and crime of the stringent penalties, education of mechanism of the cyber crime, appellate tribunal, and internet-based businesses like intermediaries, cyber security through SARTIN and NCIPC. Next. We amended this act in 2008 to introduce actually, can you go to the next? 2008, that is amendment on, what is going on? Next. In 2008, we amended this to introduce the sensitive personal data protection, intermediary liability and exemption, protection of critical information infrastructure, empowering the authorities and power to intercept, monitor, decrypt and block information, and cyber offenses, penal provisions like child pornography, dissemination of obscene content, sexual explicit materials, identify theft, cheating, personation, cyber terrorism. Then again in 2023, we have decriminalized the contravention of ease of doing business under Jan Vishwas Act. Next. Now, if we talk about the digital public infrastructure, next. That has been introduced and giving a digital inclusion for the digital Nagarik, for digital services. If you see DPI enabling the Aadhaar enabling of 1.38 billion persons and 70 million e-authentications is happening daily, and cashless transaction to the innovation like UPI is enabling 300 million transaction daily basis. DPI data exchange, if you see the DigiLocker, is offering 6.3 billion documents and 200 million users. And almost 60 million transactions are taking place on monthly basis. There are many other aspects I am not repeating. DPI enabling the health service, we have 4 lakh people are served average daily basis. DPI enabling education system, we have 170 million learners and 140 million course completions under this. DPI enabling agriculture, around 20 million farmers are onboarded in eNAM. DPI enabling public procurement, almost 11,800 plus categories of product, 310 plus categories of services, and 3 plus million orders are being done in this e-procurement, and is having a 23.4 billion US dollars of businesses. Now, this has also helped us to have a Arogya Setu during the COVID time, and internet access across 76 crores of citizens. Digital identity, already I have mentioned this point. Next. Another very interesting things, if you see last 2 decades, the emerging technologies are changing all the existing technology. So we are having like artificial intelligence, blockchain, quantum technology, 2D graphene materials, and if you see the different type of drone technology, one of the colleague was explaining. So METI has created 70 plus center of excellences using the industry and state government. We have given some of the such centers on artificial intelligence. We have created an artificial intelligence report with the 4 expert groups, and from which their outcome, we have now come out with the India AI 2003 expert group reports and discussing the India's vision for developing AI technology. Center of excellence is on IoT sensors, Industry 4.0, and others are having. So 4 centers here I have mentioned: Gandhinagar, Bangalore, Gurugram, and Vizag. Apart from that, design, deployment, and development of national AI portal has been done along with NEGD and NASCOM. METI has constituted interministerial committee to study the best practices role of government in support of the domestic robotic industry and suggest way forward to foster the end-to-end ecosystem. Next. Other slide you can skip. Next. Now, in the Common Service Center is world's largest digital service delivery network. As you all know, wide reach to rural areas in Gram Panchayat and block level. Almost 6 lakhs CSCs are functional now. 4.37 lakh CSCs are functional in Gram Panchayat level till 2022. DigiLocker, cloud-based platform where personal space to residents for storing their data, sharing verification and documentation certificates. Umang, this is basically unified cluster of apps of government services, unified the platform delivering government services through mobile devices. 1,658 services are given. 20,197 Bharat bill payment services are also integrated in this platform. India Stack Global initiated India Stack to showcase our strength globally. Portal like Aadhaar, UPI, CoWin, API Setu, DigiLocker, Arogya Setu, GEM, Umang, Diksha, E-Sanjeevani, E-Hospital and E-Offices. Next. Now, IT enabled services, next generation incubation, NGIS, which aims to support the software product. We are typically a IT services strength country, so we are trying to change to the our supremacy in the software product. So we have created one scheme to promote our Indian software product company. National software product policy also initiated in 2022, which actually having a total budget of 95 crores and also it will be launched in 12 cities and aiming to have a 300 tech startups. Next. Now in startup, we have found almost 90,000 enrollment of startups in DPIIT portal. So they are working in a different areas, but we found that they should be come in one platform to have a digital by design operation so that they can do their interaction, getting different type of businesses online. So we created METI Startup Hub. It's a very popular platform. We have already 3,330 startups, 475 incubators, 420 mentors, 22 states and state-of-art center of excellences. Another tight program, it is going on for last almost 1 decade. Now we are going for a 2.0, tight 2.0. This is a promoting tech entrepreneurship with the financial and technical support to the incubator for ICT startup and using the emerging technology like IoT, AI, blockchain and robotics. Next. Now capacity building in cyberspace is one of the important thing. We are having a Cyber Surakshit Bharat program with all CISOs in various states. Information security education and awareness. This is a very popular program. Is going on under CDAC Hyderabad. This program developing the human resource and creating mass awareness in the area of information security. 1,438 awareness workshops have been already conducted across the country, direct and virtual mode. 2,80,000 participants already been benefited out of this program. In addition, 1.24 lakhs school teachers have been trained in the master trainer in 42 training program. Next. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So today's session was extremely enriching, enlightening, and insightful. But unfortunately, due to paucity of time, we won't be able to have any question-answer round today. Okay, sir. So maybe maximum we can take 2 to 3 questions. Yeah, so. Okay, sir. Can we have the questions?
Please introduce yourself.
Senior citizens, they are a vulnerable section of the society who are adopting to technologies, but they're not fully, in line with the protection mechanisms. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? We'll take 3 questions at a time. Yes.
Hello, sir. Yes. This is not a question per se, but a thought perspective that I would like to share in this interesting My name is Bhav. I am a lawyer and I am also an entrepreneur. So I happened to had a conversation with the general partner of Open Oceans, which is one of the top 5 VCs in the world right now. And she was mentioning that by 2050, she expects that all jobs in Europe will be taken up by artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence will give money to people who will be sitting at home and their jobs will be done. So howsoever controversial the opinion would be, the questions that leaves that with us is who will own the technology and how will the economic resources be divided by that ownership of technology. So now before the General Data Protection Act, with the GDPR in Europe, we had data arbitrage. So where the commercial startups in Europe were entering the Indian market because they already had the algorithm and they were using the cheap data because of a lack of regulation and using that to create products and subserve the Indian community. So the question that we will have in the future will be about digital equality and which will also have ramifications for economic equality. And then as policymakers, we need to figure out a way of stopping linkage of data silos by non-human interfaces, say machine learning and AI, and how they are using our personal data to program the algorithms and distribute the economic resources.
Good evening to everyone. So my name is Manil. Sir, I have a question raised on that innovation and technology means not only the development but also safeguarding the measures of the every people. So what are the safeguards that we are taking out in the railway systems? Like we had seen many accidents in the recent times. So what are the safeguards regarding the railway sector and in the civilization and aviation sector? That is my question.
I'll answer the first question. So the figure was 5,270 crores. Average amount of money lost in this year has been around 55,000 rupees. So the steps that are being taken, number one is the awareness part, which is taken care of by us through our Cyber Dost handle on social media and through various camps and symposiums. Through Cyber Volunteer Framework, we enroll volunteers. Ministry of Electronics itself has something called ISEA, which creates awareness. The state police forces also have the mechanisms for creating awareness. The second part is that we try to prevent it. The prevention is the best part. We try to prevent it also by addressing all the three major vectors of cybercrime: telecommunication, banking, and IT intermediaries. I could not show the third slide, IT intermediaries. We have tied up with all the big techs in the country. We have almost every monthly meeting with Google's, the Facebooks. Malware analysis is done, we give it to them. We give it to them the identifiers related to cyber criminals, and they take preventive actions. So it is collaboration, and collaboration with all the sectors.
Yes. So, I think we can close the session. We've had a very good session, very informative from our different speakers, panelists here. And of course, the presentation from the Ministry of Home, that was something that interested all of us the most. But from the railways, we had some very good information about the developments which are taking place, how the railways has been growing its network and providing more and more services to the citizens of the country. On the civil aviation front also, we had Mr. Srivastav telling us the growth in civil aviation which has taken place and how the number of airports have already increased and how they will increase in the next couple of years. And the use of technology in all these fields. Of course, Mr. Srinivas began by telling us about how the Ministry of Personal Grievances is using technology and to make the ministry work more efficiently, how to use data, how to... I may just add here my own personal experience a couple of days ago. Since I've just retired, I had to register for the CGHS scheme. And I was told that from 1st October, I had to make payment online for subscribing to the scheme. Earlier, so I'd got a bank pay order made, But then I was told, no, that will not be accepted, and I must go to Bharat Kosh and make the payment. But I must tell you, it was not a very good experience. You need to work on that, because it was not a user-friendly portal at all. I had to call somebody from Delhi High Court who assisted me, because he knew. So you may take this as a feedback.
I'll take.
You kindly take this as a feedback.
Health Ministry. accordingly.
Yes. So,
CGHS has had a lot of grievances coming. I'll take
so you could just take it as a feedback, not as a criticism, but as a
No,
feedback.
we'll convey it.
So my general one feedback is that when it comes to technology, since we are talking about technology, I think we need to employ the best. What is happening is that in our process of tendering, when we go for L1, we are probably missing out on the best service providers, best technology that we can adopt. So that is something that the government should look at, that we go for the I remember having dealt with the case of Air India, before it was privatized. Recently, a couple of years ago, I did. So there was the ticketing system, which had to be, there was a tender for awarding the ticketing system. And it was time-bound. And the justification offered by the government was that we had taken the tenderer whose bid was much higher, but was supposedly the best in the field. And so we upheld that award of contract in that particular case, in the facts of that case. So, but I feel that there has to be some work on this front, where the government should do proper thinking, how to go about getting the best services so that we create the best systems. So thanks everyone. We've had a very good session here, very informative from all of us. Thank you. Thank you.
So as we wrap up our session today, I would like to propose a vote of thanks to our chairperson, Honorable Mr. Justice Vipin Sanghi ji, and all our eminent and distinguished speakers. Thank you so much. So this will be followed with a plenary session. It is at the main hall. So I would request, it's starting at 4 o'clock. So I would request all the delegates present. 4:30 so onwards, but they'll seal the entrance from 4:15. So I would request all of you to kindly assemble at the plenary hall down the ground floor. Thank you so much.